Hi everyone, how's life? I hope all of you are doing good. In this video, I want to present about my presentation is talking about speech perception. Do you know what is speech perception? Well, first of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Lamtia Ruta Barat. You can call me Tia. Speech perception is the process by which the sounds of language are heard, interpreted, and understood. The study speech perception is closely linked to the fields of phonology and phonetics in linguistic, and connective psychology and perception in psychology. The process of perceiving speech begins at the level of the sound signal and the process of audition. After processing the initial auditory signal, speech sounds are further processed to extract acoustic cues and phonetic information. This speech information can be used for higher level language processes, such as word recognition. Two kinds of the speech perception in the phonetic. And the first one, articulatory phonetics, and then acoustic phonetics. Articulatory phonetics, production based with pace and manner of articulation, and acoustic phonetics based on the acoustical signal like formants, transition, co-articulation, etc. So the articulatory phonetics we can see in the right picture, and then acoustic phonetic we can see of the below slide. And then speech prediction to perception. Acoustic cues are extracted and stored in the sensory memory and then mapped into linguistic information. So there are two kind of the acoustic cues, and the first one is air. Air is put into the larynx across the vocal cords and into the mouth nose. Different types of sounds are produced. The different qualities of the sounds are represented in formants. And the second is the formants and other features are mapped into phonants. Categorical perception. Categorical perception is involved in the process of perceptual differentiation. People perceive speech sounds categorically, that is to say, they are more likely to notice the differences between categories or phonemes than within categories. The perceptual speech between categories is therefore the centers of categories or prototypes, working like a sieve or like magnets for incoming speech sounds. And the next, in an article continuum between a voiceless and a voiced bilabial plosive, each new step differs from the preceding one in the amount of VOT. The first sound is a pre-voice like b, the other, and others. It has a negative VOT. Then, increasing the VOT, it reaches 0, and the others. The plosive is a plain, unaspirated voiceless, like p. Yes, like p. Gradually, adding the same amount of the VOT at the time, the plosive is eventually a strongly aspirated voiceless bilabial, like p, p. Yes. In this continuum of, for example, 7 sounds native English listener will identify the first 3 sounds as p and the last 3 sounds as p, with a clear boundary between the two categories. A two alternative identification or categorization test will yield a discontinuous categorization function. There is graphic of perception of VOT continuum we can see. And the next, theories of speech perception. Theories of speech perception must be able to account for certain facts about the acoustic speech signal. For example, there is interspeaker and intraspeaker variability among signals that convey information about equivalent phonetic events. And then the acoustic speech signal is continuous even though it is perceived as and represents a series of discrete units. And the last, speech signal contain cues that are transmitted very quickly. Exactly 20 to 25 sounds per second, and simultaneously. Scope of the problems. Speech perception involves the mapping of speech acoustic signals into linguistic message. For example, phonemes, distinctive features, syllables, words, and phrases. Types of theories. There are 3 theories about speech perception. And the first one is motor theories, and then direct perception, and the last is stack theories. Motor theory has as its core the premise that perception involves a reference to articulation. This view is often associated with the idea that speech is somehow special and involves specific mechanisms in perception. So we can see the kind of the motor theory. And the first is a phonetic gesture. Phonetic gesture is a representation of the speaker's vocal track constriction while producing a speech sound, and then each phonetic gesture is produced uniquely in the vocal tract, And the third different phase of the producing gesture permit the speaker to produce silent phonetics for listeners to perceive. And last, the motor theory models function by using spirit embedded models within the main model. It is the interaction of this model that make motor theory possible. According to the motor theory of the speech perception, we have a special system for processing speech. Perception and production are closely linked. Motor commands in the brain that control movements of the muscles used to speak help us perceive speech. Humans are born with a module that connects sounds with mental commands. We have an innate speech processing module. So in this slide, we can see the processing of the speech. When we when we produce the sounds, will be waves, and then filtered by our ear, and then sensory nerves by our brain. Is for listener. And how to the speaker production when the speaker produce the sounds, the sounds will be feedback. The sounds will be feedback link, and then filtered by our ear, and then sensory nerves to our brain, and motor nerves to produce our sounds. I think like this. And then stake theories. These are set of the theories that do not assume a link between production and perception. Role and nature of segmental or phonetic representation is diverse. And then stake theories, elements. Coding is based on auditory process. All use intermediate representations. The nature of representation is diverse. All use an information processing framework. Perception is the result of the square of the transformations. So, in my conclusion is, speech perception refers to the suite of like natural computation cognitive operation that transform auditory input signal into representations that can make contact with internally stored information. The word in a listener's mental lexicon. Speech perception is typically studied using single sounds. For example, like vowel syllables, spoken word, and connected speech. Okay guys, maybe that's all that I can share you about my presentation of the speech perception. I'm sorry for all of my mistakes. I hope this information can be useful for us. Thank you for your attention. See you in the next video.